The other thing that's always helpful with the 3-act structure is how many pages is each of the acts. And so I always tell my students, think about your first act is going to be between a quarter and a third of the novel. So if you had a 300-page novel, it's going to be between 75 pages and 100 pages. That's your first act. Your second act is going to be anywhere between a third and a half of the novel. So if you have a 300-page novel, your second act is going to be somewhere between 100 pages and 150 pages. And this is where you get that wiggle room that you were asking about. Everything doesn't always have to fit into a neat, tiny box. And so the last act is going to be, again, it's going to be anywhere from 1/4 to 1/3 of the novel. So again, in a 300-page novel, it'll be between 75 and 100 pages. And so think about that with movies too. When you see a movie, it's usually about 2 hours long. But think about a 90-minute movie. A 90-minute movie, the first act is going to be 30 minutes, the second act is going to be 30 minutes, and the third act is going to be 30 minutes. And right in the middle of that second act, you're going to have your midpoint, and it's going to be bracketed by your first plot point and your second plot point.
This is less of a consideration now with streaming, but it would be interesting to look back at TV shows with commercials in them and see how the writers accommodated the fact that they were a little more constrained because of where the commercials were going to
Back in
appear.
the olden days, an hour-long TV show used to be structured in exactly this way. You'd have your little cold opener where they set up what the plot was, and then you'd have a commercial at 15 minutes, you'd have another commercial at a half hour, you'd have another commercial at 45 minutes, and then you'd have your final act. And the whole thing would be your 3-act structure, with that commercial at 30 minutes being the midpoint of the TV show. Now TV shows have 6 or 7 commercial breaks, so it's not quite the same.